we are back here on the Calcio guys. Adreano, Gianni, I'm Nicholas. It's been a while. We've been on vacation. We've been relaxing. We've been busy, but don't worry. We're back. You could follow us on all our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Listen to us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. But guys, how's it going?
It's going good. Not so good after what we had to witness today in the Champions League. And I know we'll dive right into that, but happy to be back. First episode of 2025. So we hope to start it off with a bang. Hopefully many more episodes to come this year. We know that will happen. So just happy to be back and hope everybody started off the year well. And here we are.
Champions League? What's that? I don't even know what that is. Only real teams, only fans care about Europa League.
Gianni, you have a reason to smile. Your team, one of your teams, is in first place in Serie A, so you have a reason.
We'll get into that later too, probably.
Yeah, we're recording this at 5:50 in the evening. Probably one of the earlier episodes we ever done. So Champions League, it's fresh in our minds. Match day 8. It's the first time that Champions League games have even been played in January, and under the new format. The last game of this league phase. So plenty to talk about. Guys, we talked about at the beginning of the season what to expect of this new format, and we weren't sure how many points would be needed. And look at this format. The table is tight. Liverpool finished 21 points. They were in first, but after that, you look at the standings. Three teams with 19 points. A team with 18 points. 3 more with 16. About 5 with 15. A team with 14 points, another 5 with 13, 4 teams are on 11 points. Dinamo Zagreb finished with 11 points and were eliminated based on goal differential. I feel like it's just so tight that it's hard to have only 8 games and 36 teams in a table and have separation. Obviously, you look at the bottom of the table, Young Boys, 0 points. Even Bologna, they didn't get enough. We talked about it with Nick Gianni at the beginning of the season, how much they would need. Nick Gianni was guessing if 8 would be enough. We talked about maybe more 10. That's how 11 points plus good goal differential is what you needed. So I don't know what you guys thought about this whole format and if something needs to change about this whole, I guess, traffic in the table, because at the end of the day, it's coming down to goal differential between qualifying top 8 or even qualifying period for the next phase.
I think it's fine. I guess I'll be the one that's speaking more on the positive side of things. Like, especially if you're talking about like the next potential stage, like you want it to come down to that. You need that's the reason why tiebreakers exist. It's whether there was group stages or not, you're going to have teams being eliminated because of goal differential. So instead of having it as 8 individual or like 6 individual groups, now you have it as just this overall table. It's just the same enemy disguised in a different mask. So at that point, it's like, look, you have 8 potential games to have a chance at it, right? Like instead of having 6, now you have 8. So and you have a bit more of a leeway in terms of you're competing against like 23 other teams, but that's also a blessing in disguise because you just need to, not 23, sorry, 32, right? There's 32 teams in the Champions League. That's what it is? 36. Either way, it's even better. Like you have 35 other teams you have to compete against, sure. But that means like it was a top 20, like 24 and up get into like a playoffs and then like the top 8 get a bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So yeah, like you just have to be better than 33% of the other competition. You have to be in the top 66 percentile. It is. I'm just giving rough numbers. Like obviously, these are not accurate numbers, but I think it's fine. To be honest, if you're doing this kind of format, I don't think it's problematic. But obviously, if you guys have disagreements, by all means, go ahead.
I mean, listen. I think we didn't know what to expect, right? Like Nick opened the show with, we weren't sure. It's the first year under this new format in the Champions League, so obviously we expected there to be ups and downs, but at the end of it. Goal differential or not, I think it made it exciting. I think I'm still a traditionalist. I still like how it was, kind of that mindset of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Again, it's the bottom dollar that counts, in the world today, especially in sports. So anything to make more money, extra revenue, they're going to do. So, we were expecting that, obviously. But, like you said, Nick, instead of 6 games, there's 8. There's, 2 extra games to get you over the hump. Again, I think there's a lot of storylines. A lot of the big dogs underperforming in this Champions League. At the end of it, for the Italian teams, I mean, there could have been 4. I think going into this match, there could have been 4 teams that could have potentially 4 Italian teams that could have made it into the top 8. Of course, we had to fumble the bag on that, and it was only Inter who managed to squeeze into the top 8. But again, something new. Again, was it all positives? Maybe not. But again, I think there's something to build on if they're going to continue on this path of this type of format in Champions League. Again, I'm not too sure. I hadn't read up on it on how it's going to continue on, if it's going to stay exactly as is and into these next couple of years. But listen, it's the Champions League. No matter what the format is, people are going to tune in and watch. That's a given. It's besides international competitions such as like the World Cup and such. This is one of the bigger competitions that football fans, Calcio fans, soccer fans have their eyes on. So, I guess besides the underwhelming performance by some of the top European teams, the Man Cities of the world, the PSGs, even the Juves, if you want to say, because they didn't finish to where they kind of wanted to as well. Milan's start wasn't the best. They had a good patch in between and then failed, fumbled it on the last match day today. So, I think it was up and down roller coaster, but at the end of the day, I thought I would hate it more, to be honest. And at the end of the day, I don't think I minded it too much. But again, if I would have to really choose, I would probably stick to how it was, like the groups. You get that rivalry in the groups, the home and away. Kind of know what you're setting yourself up for. This table, you're playing going from Man City to Sparta Prague, and then there's not really that Champions League feel in the group stage. Like that group stage kind of gave it something more. I can't really put my word on it, but it just gave it some more juice, to the competition. I kind of like the one thing that I do kind of like is that we're not taking, if you're out, you're out. You're not going down to Europa League and kind of maybe not ruining that competition, but kind of separating it in the sense that Champions League is Champions League, Europa League is Europa League, Conference League is going to be Conference League. There's no spillage. It gives these Europa League teams or Conference League teams, the ones that are actually in that competition, a chance to actually lift that trophy at the end of the day, at the end of the season. So overall, I think there was some good. Obviously, there was, like I said, it wasn't all positives, but I mean, listen, we're on to the next rounds now. This playoff, I got to see how this works out. Again, guys, I'm not sure. I didn't read up on it. Is it a home and away and the matchups that you're going to get in the round of 16?
Yes.
Or the playoff, sorry?
Yeah. So it's a new format, this too. So teams 9 through 16 are the seeded teams. And then 17 through 24 are the unseeded teams. But it's not like they just have a pot of 8 teams, a seeded team draws an unseeded team. There's a schedule, there's a set bracket where your position in the standings determines who you're going to play. So this whole seeded versus unseeded doesn't really make sense because all it is at the end, there's still a draw. So bear with me here, Adreano.
Yeah.
The matchups are based on the positions. So teams 9 and 10 are drawn against teams 23 and 24. So that's where the draw happens.
So that's already set in stone. It's just the matter of what teams are going to be those teams.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you.
Teams 9 and 10 versus 23, 24. So Atalanta and Borussia, they're either going to play Sporting or Bruges.
Okay.
I think once they're drawn, they go on opposite sides of the bracket. I think.
Okay.
11, 12 versus 21, 22. So Real or Bayern versus Celtic and Man City. So that's it. Man City's going to play either Real or Bayern. That's juicy.
Wow. Yeah.
This one I like. 13, 14 versus 19, 20. is Milan or PSV,
Yeah.
Juve or Feyenoord. So we could have a Milan Juve knockout phase. There's no country restrictions this time around. And then lastly, 15-16 versus 17-18, PSG or Benfica versus Monaco and Brest. So we're gonna have an all France matchup in that one as well. So it's interesting. I'm a fan of removing the country restrictions because that alone creates rivalry matchups. If we have Milan Juve first round, that's going to be amazing. And if you look at the bracket, so based on where all these set matchups are, the top 8 teams already have their set opponents linked to that bracket as well.
Wins. Yeah, I got you.
So depending on the draw, Inter could play Milan or Juve in the round of 16. Obviously, other things need to happen. They need to be drawn against in the same bracket as, where a Juve and Milan end up. Obviously, Juve and Milan need to advance, but that's a possibility. Imagine that. Imagine Juve's path would be Milan and then Inter. That'd be amazing. So, you know what? I like that. But yeah, in terms of standings, or even the format, like I feel like it was just less drama, straight up.
Yeah,
I still prefer the group stage. It's easy to say, oh, how things used to be were better, but whatever. Like I understand the benefit of this is you play more teams. That's cool. That's great, and you have a higher chance of advancing too. But whatever.
Yeah, is the competition really that much better? Like, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, guys. So the Italian teams finished Inter 4th with 19 points, Atalanta 9th with 15 points, Milan 13 with 15 points as well. So there you go. Shows the difference. 4 spots difference, and you have the same points.
Mm-hmm.
Juve back 12 points, and then Bologna way back 28th with 6 points. Any surprises here, guys, in terms of standings, at least for the Italian teams?
I'm gonna say Juve, and I know. We went back and forth with Nick Gianni, and again, Nick, I love you. So if you're listening to this, but I think on that episode we had spoken about it, right? If Juve are serious, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if Juve are serious, and if they want to do what they're expected to do, and their fans, as much as we have one here tonight, and I'm not a fan of the club, but what their fans deserve, right? At the end of the day, they obviously they want to win. They haven't touched that trophy in a long time. So, I think for them, it's underwhelming. It's no hate. It's no trying to jump on the. We already make fun of Juve enough. This is nothing new, and it's not to attack the Juve fans, but. Personally, for me, it was the reality of this tournament. They're lucky, obviously, that they advanced to from the top 24. Because that would have been even worse if something really dramatic went down and they wouldn't have even cracked the top 24. That would have been disaster waiting to happen. But in terms of the Italian teams, I think it has to circle back to Juve. They're not playing well. They show up when they, I guess, want to show up. They draw every other week. They didn't have the campaign in the Champions League. I don't think that they would have wanted. Even losing today, I believe, was it 2-0? I think so. It just, I don't know what it is. If it's mentally, physically, the coach, we can blame all avenues of this. But if you ask me, just what team is the Italian teams underperformed or was a bit of a surprise, it has to be Juve, because they're far from where they want to be, and maybe if you want to say where they need to be as well.
I think the biggest surprise for me would have to be just only one team in the top 8 from Italy. I would have probably expected 2, especially with how on fire the league has been this season in terms of the competitiveness. I figured it might reflect the strength of the league a bit more if we would have had maybe a second team in the top 8, but Atalanta is just sitting right outside at 9th, and it just goes to show like tiebreakers are very crucial in these type of formats. So,
differential.
I think that's just for me the biggest surprise out of all this. Like I didn't expect like more than 3. Like 3 would have been like, okay, it's a pleasant surprise. I expected more, but at least two. Two was like, okay, realistically, I think we could have had two Italian teams in the top 8, but we only had one. So that's
we
about
should
it.
have had three. We should have had three. Milan and Atalanta were right there. I mean, they ended up unfortunately botching it at the end, but you're right. You're right, Johnny. They had the chance. Nick, you?
Yeah, for me, I mean, Adri, you said Juve's a surprise. I mean, looking back, I can't say today's result is a surprise. Definitely a disappointment.
Sure.
But with the way they've been playing lately, yeah, not a surprise. Honestly, Atalanta finishing as high as they did, for me, I think that would be the surprise. I know we constantly doubt them and doubt how good Atalanta actually is, and they're having a fantastic season. I think this is a statement just their season as a whole, and the fact that they could have finished higher. Today they tied 2-2 versus Barcelona, a game they could have won, right? But look, it's just small differences. They lost one game in these 8, and they're the only team to have lost one game and not finish in the top 8.
Yeah.
So, obviously you throw in 3 draws, it doesn't help. It's the Mata style, but no, for sure. I'm going to say Atalanta. Yeah, Adri, look, I want to talk about Milan and Juve. So Milan lost against Zagreb today.
Yeah.
Goal scored by former Juve player Marco Piazza.
Yeah.
In the 60th minute, and Juve lost 2-0. Another disappointing game. That's 2 games without any goals in the Champions League. And I'm just going to read a couple of tweets, Adreano, and you have to guess whether this was tweeted by a Milan fan or a Juve fan.
Oh, God.
This is turning out to be a disaster.
I feel like the obvious answer is Juve, so I'm going to say the opposite. I'm going to say Milan.
No, Milan fan.
It is, okay.
We are so unserious. I can't deal with this team.
That could be both, but I'm going to go Juve.
Milan.
Okay, they're all Milan then.
I can handle a loss when we give an honest effort. Why I can't stomach oh my God. What I can't stomach is that these players seem to pick and choose when they want to perform.
Oh, fuck. That sounds like Milan, but I'm gonna say
it is.
Milan. Yeah,
it's all from friend of the show, Sabrina Belmonte.
Okay.
I saw her tweets while I was watching the Juve game, and I tweeted out. I said today on are these tweets about Juventus or Milan? Because that's exactly
it can go both ways.
It's like the handshake meme. Like we're both in the same boat. Obviously, you guys actually fired your coach. Good for you, and actually won a trophy this season. So we can't even say the same thing. Yeah. No, I obviously I didn't watch Milan's game. I'm a bit disappointed that there was 18 games on today, and there's not even one program red zone style that shows all 18. Goes back and forth, this and that. I know the zone did that the first season that they had the Champions League, and they scrapped it. Which makes sense, but when there's 18 games on, you gotta produce something. Anyways, I'm gonna talk about Juve.
Go, yeah.
Look, it's frustrating. It's sad to see where what point the team has gotten. I understand they coming out of 9 straight Scudetti, they weren't gonna win another 9. What they did in that period was absolutely incredible. But it's just sad to see it in the matter of 5 years. They last won the Scudetto 2020. So in the matter of 5 years, they're in a position now where they might not even qualify for Champions League. If they do, where they finish in 5th place in Serie A, it'll be because they, Champions League awards the extra spot with the UEFA coefficient.
We need that.
Yeah. And, I understand that projects take some time to develop. I do. But I don't see anything in this Juve project that convinces me. Monta comes in, he gets the players he wants, and they're not good. For me, okay, that's a lie. Some of them are good, some of them aren't good. For me, one player I've really enjoyed watching this season is Conceição. He was the one creating all the chances today. even Thuram, he's really good player. But a guy like Koopmeiners, when you pay 70 million for him and he's coming off the bench today and he doesn't even turn the needle. A guy like Vlahovic, I know he's from the previous project, another $70 million player, and we've talked about him so much on this podcast, right?
Yeah.
I just want to see a bit more cohesion between the team. I want to see a bit more, I hate to use this word because it's overused, grinta. Straight up. I want, to lose 2-0 at home in the Champions League when you have a chance to finish in a seated position, in a higher position. And no disrespect to Benfica, but we're not playing Barcelona here. And the fact that, last week it was the same thing. 0-0 against Bruges, boring game. 0-0 against Aston Villa, boring game. Yes, they had the 2-0 win against Man City. Yes, they had the comeback win against Leipzig. That pretty much saved their Champions League season, because without that win, they'd be out. This past weekend against Napoli. It's frustrating. I don't think there's a quick fix to this. I don't think firing Motta will fix it. I don't think he should be coached next year. Straight up, I'm just going to say that. He's done nothing to deserve to continue as coach. Pirlo was fired after one season
for way less.
For way less, he was the better coach. I understand. There was issues with Allegri, this and that, but if the club was going to continue going through these financial hard times, why not keep Allegri? Because he was the coach to at least get them through it. And Motta's not the coach to get them past it. Who is that? I have no clue. I really don't. There's not one coach out there where I'd say go out and get him. I think it at the end of the day, it still comes down to player selection, roster management. Juve is not in position now where they're like Real Madrid. They're going to go out and get these superstar players that's going to push the needle. So I understand I have to be patient as a Juve fan, but it's sad to see. That's it. I could talk about it all day, right? But that's it. That's it, guys.
I think no, but just to add on to that, I think it's unfortunately when you're and it's not just to Juve fans, but even to winning teams, right? Like when you're spoiled for so many years of winning, trophy, good football, big players coming, exciting times. When you're spoiled with that in your history, and then it's taken away, it hurts. Like Milan going through 10-year banter era that was like unwatchable almost. But you kind of have to go through that to kind of come out the other end and hopefully progress back to. I don't think you'll ever reach where you once were, but try to step by step kind of build your way back to the club that you are, right? So I think that obviously plays a factor. And again, we're in a business that what have you done for me lately? It's right now. Everything has to happen now. We're in that generation where nobody can wait, nobody can be patient, and it does hurt because obviously you want results right away, and you want to see success, and you want to see your club get to the level where they can get to and where they've been before. So that's just something to add on to that, because I think Milan, when Milan and even Inter were in those hard 10 years, it was tough, man, tough to watch, tough to, obviously you stick by your team, through thick and thin, but, tough, cultural watching in those times. So I think when you have a rich history, and again, I'm not a fan, but, we live in a city where, the Montreal Canadiens, the winningest franchise in the NHL, have gone through a lot of hard years, either not making the playoffs, not getting back to a championship caliber team, not bringing home that cup back to Montreal. So, when you have such a rich history of winning, and then it gets taken away from you and you kind of go into a slump, you feel it, year in and year out a bit harder, and it's hard to wait to kind of get back to where you need to be. But it's for Milan, again, a lot to digest. I think from our last episode, like I was telling the guys off air, it's been a kind of a whirlwind of a season so far, and we're not even over. It's I think we're going on match day 23 in the Serie A, and we just finished the Champions League, first round. lot to digest. Starting off with Fonseca, now going on to Conceição, two back-to-back Portuguese managers. You know what? I have to say, I didn't think that the management would have the balls to pull the trigger and fire Fonseca. I'll be honest with you, but they did. They managed to get who I think they should have gotten, and a lot of Milan fans think they should have gotten from the get-go in Conceição, or a profile like his in the summer. Obviously, they were linked to guys like Lopetegui, and that didn't end up transpiring. And they end up third option kind of being falling on Fonseca. But the change, the almost quick reaction to Conceição came here with a mission, kind of that general style, but very animated on the sidelines too, very passionate, very hard, very, you say grinta, right? Like you said, Nick, it's overused, but at the same time, it's necessary. He kind of brings that. He's a winner too, very, very much so. Obviously, it may be a lesser league, but at the same time, it doesn't go unnoticed. He's won a lot of trophies along his coaching tenure, so he brings that experience. I kind of want to say he's maybe not, it's not at the same lengths and heights, but kind of the Portuguese Conte. Like he's animated on the sidelines. He's that rah fucking very, very passionate about the game and hard on his players, and it's kind of that similar thing. Obviously, Conte has done great things and won a lot of major trophies compared to Conceição. So not to say that they're equal in that sense, but just to say kind of a serial winner, kind of that same type of attitude and way of going about coaching. But he comes in and right in time for the Supercopa. We managed to get 2 results, go our way in the second half, and bring home a trophy, like you said, Nick, for Milan. So it's been up and down. Even after that, we've gotten poor results. The 2-2 draw against Cagliari, which shouldn't happen. Conceição comes out and says the first half was one of the worst he's ever been a part of it with a team coaching wise, in terms of performance, in terms of attitude. So that says something. Obviously the 2-0 to Juve. I mean, it is what it is. I guess I guess on the day the better team won, but I think there should have been more fight. It's again, like Sabrina's tweets were saying, when this team wants to, they come up and play. It shouldn't have to be that way. Unfortunately, us Milan fans kind of have seen that way too often for our liking. So it's frustrating. It becomes frustrating. And again, you speak about project. You speak about not wanting to wait. Milan has been in a project, in multiple projects, if you want to say, going from winning the Scudetto after the Banter era with a guy like Pioli, firing him, bringing in Fonseca, not working out, 6 months later, Conceição, and now, personally, I like Conceição. I like what he brings, and I think, again, I need to give him time to kind of really bring his team to the standard and the level we want, and we think that he can get them to. So, the 3-2 against Parma in the Espresso match this past weekend, which again, it just crazy that these games have to go this way, and we have to stress and get nervous over results like this. But it kind of just is what it is. I think what he has done is kind of brought in the team more together. I think the bigger names on the club, the Leaos, the Teos, the Magnans, the Reindeers, they were performing, but not to the levels that they should be under Fonseca. And I think Conceição comes in and kind of brought that unity. And they're fighting for Conceição. I don't think they were really fighting for Fonseca near the later stages of his tenure for Milan. So I think they need to continue on the positive patch. Like I said, for the Champions League, obviously they fumbled it today in the 2-1, which again, some BS in that game, in my opinion. I think it could have went a different way. I don't maybe think we should have won the game, but at least a draw, I would say. But they went on a patch there after losing the opening 2 matches, and everyone was like, okay, doom and gloom, Milan, they're going to fumble this Champions League. They're not going to do anything. they managed to go 5 straight wins in the Champions League, something they haven't done in I believe about 20 years. I think it was 05 was the last time when that happened. So something there's building blocks. There's something to start laying down that foundations with this team. I know, like you said, Nick, with Juve, you don't know if that foundation is really set yet and who to kind of build around. But I think Milan kind of is in that way of getting that foundation. I think they do have good players. It's just a matter of when they want to turn it on and kind of get everything together. That consistency. Week in and week out. It shouldn't be that we're stressing against Cagliari, but then taking out Real Madrid in the Champions League or winning a derby for the first time in God knows how many seasons. It shouldn't be that way. Unfortunately, in Calcio and especially in the Serie A, it's no surprise. But again, it shouldn't be that way. But yeah, listen. Upset that we couldn't get into the top 8 because I think we could have, like to Gianni's point earlier, that a second team, maybe even a third Italian team could have been in that top 8. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Dinamo gave it to us in their home today, so it is where it is there. But again, we turned the page. We have the derby coming up this weekend, which is huge. Can we hope and try to beat them again? Is obviously a talking point, but. It's on to the next one with Milan, and I'm just hopeful that we get into that. We need to get into Champions League. That's the bottom line. I think they're in 7th spot right now. I think 7th or 8th in the league table. It's not where we want to be. So hopefully we get that 5th spot again for Champions League because I think some of these Italian teams are going to need it. And I just again one game at a time, and it starts after this game. It starts this weekend, I think Sunday against Inter in the derby.